Hi everyone. So in this lecture we're going to create a classic foreground, midground, background composition using Photoshop. Foreground, midground, background is a great way to create depth in your work, atmosphere, to set the context, right? Set the scene. So we're going to, take some photos and construct one together just to see how it goes. So here I've got, an interior scene looking out a window to a deeper background. There's a midground, desk and a foreground figure. Again, a classic way to organize an illustration. So in this image, I've got essentially my figure in a background. In fact, in order to not use any one person's face, I've actually blended two faces together, right? If you add a layer mask, right, to a layer, you can essentially blend a couple of faces together to create a new one. That's kind of fun. Give it a shot. Anyway, I chose this background because of those misty mountains in the distance. Really create a sense of atmosphere and really deep space. So I thought that would be a good choice. So here's the interior room. We're going to cut the window panes out of this, so to speak, so we can see the figure through that. Here's the desk. I'm going to show you how to create that shadow to help composite it into the room a little better. And then finally, there's the foreground figure here that we're going to select and place. Okay, so let's start with our figure. So I'm going to select both of these layers. If you shift-click two layers, they'll both be selected, and you can get the move tool and drag that into the midground interior room, and I'm going to kind of center that over the window where we're going to place it. Okay, so in this case, I've got to move the midground image, the interior, above my two background elements there. In fact, those two background elements, I'm going to link them together. If you look at the bottom of the layers panel, there's a link layers button. With them both selected, I can click that, and you see that link symbol show up. They're going to move together now. So if I don't want to put them in a group necessarily, I can at least link them so that they move in unison. All right, so I'm going to move the midground layer above. There we go. And if that were a background layer, you'd have to unlock it first. There'd be a lock symbol. You can click that lock symbol and it'll release it and it'll become a standard layer. So I'm going to move that above. Okay, so earlier I basically selected those window panes. So instead of spending time doing that, I'm just going to go to the select menu, choose load selection, and I saved it as an alpha channel, alpha 1. I'm going to click OK. There's my selection. You could just do this with the standard selection tools as best you can. Like, the polygon lasso might be good for this, or the standard lasso. However, you want to select it. Okay, so I'm just going to hit the delete key on the keyboard or backspace on a PC to get rid of those pixels. And now I can see my distant image through this. Okay. And, oops, I'm going to deselect that. Now, you get the move tool, and I'm going to click on my figure here and move it about like so. I want to make sure that I can see the tops of those mountains in the distance. That's important. Okay, so far so good. All right, let's get that desk in here now. So we're going to draw this shadow, right? The option click, that's what the shadow is going to look like. And I'm going to start just by duplicating the layer that has the desk on it. In fact, I'm going to take that shadow layer and lower its opacity a bit more and just leave it up as a kind of guide for how to draw this. So I'm going to duplicate this desk layer. If you right click any layer, you can choose to duplicate that layer, or remember the shortcut Command J or Control J on a PC. So here's my copy, and I'm going to transform this. Command T will transform. In fact, I'm going to right click inside that transformation box and flip it vertically. You can flip things horizontally or vertically. I'm going to flip this one vertically, so it's pointing down. All right. And now I'm going to use perspective on this. If you hold down Command, Option, and Shift, or Control, Alt, Shift, all at the same time, you can grab the corner and make it look like a perspective warp, right? And now I'm going to bring my cursor outside of the bounding box to the transform box to rotate it. All right. And the Command or Control key on a PC, you can basically click on any corner and modify and kind of distort the image. That's about as close as we can get it at the moment. So when you're done transforming, you have to tell Photoshop you're done by double clicking inside or hitting the return key on the keyboard or hitting this check mark up here on the property bar at the top, right? Okay, so this is close, but I still have to connect the dots, so to speak. The legs don't quite line up. In fact, let's turn it into a shadow first. So I'm going to hold down the Command key, or it will be Control on a PC, and click the thumbnail of my copied layer, right? So Command, click the thumbnail. That'll load it as a selection. And while it's selected, I can fill it with black. Now, black happens to be my foreground color right now. So the shortcut to fill with your foreground color is Option, Delete. See that? I mean, you could also go to the Edit menu and choose Fill and fill with your foreground color black, but I think it's a lot easier. Just remember Option or Alt, Delete to fill with your foreground color. Okay, so and I'm going to deselect that as well. All right, we got the starts of our shadow here. So I'm going to get the brush tool out, B for brush, and I'm going to make sure it's set to use a hard edge brush, right? Make sure the hardness is dialed up, and I'm going to decrease the size of my brush. If you hit the left bracket key, it'll decrease the size of the brush. If you hit the right bracket, it will increase. See that? So I'm going to decrease it quite a bit, and I'm going to, you could just click and drag, but if you want to do this with precision, you can click one spot and then shift click the other, and it makes a straight line for you, perfectly straight. See that? Let's do one over here. I can click on that leg and shift click here to connect that. And there's one here as well. Like so. All right, so I'm just going to kind of finish drawing this. It's not the easiest thing in the world to draw with a touchpad, but I'm trying. Okay, so I'm going to increase the size of the brush a bit now. Fill these in. Now I'm going to hit the E key to get the eraser tool and clean up a bit over here. It's a bit wonky. Let me do that again. Hold down Shift. You make a straight line. There we go. All right, so now let's put a gradient on a layer mask to make this shadow more believable. So on the desk copy layer, in fact, I should probably call that, something else. I should probably call it shadow. Oops. Oh. Okay. And let's pull it down below the desk. Okay, so let's add a layer mask. See, layer mask button at the bottom of the layers panel. Click on that and you see a mask added to it. And if I hit the B key on the keyboard, I can paint, right? If I've got black paint, I can paint on this to make it disappear. Or if I hit the X key to switch to white paint, I can bring it back. So you can use the gradient tool. I'm going to hit the G key on the keyboard, and this will create a blend from black to white in this case. So if I click and drag, I can make it gradually fade, right? Because shadows are stronger nearest the object that's casting the shadow, and they fade the farther they get away from it. Okay. And, I can lower the opacity in general as well in the layers panel. All right. So I'm going to get the move tool now. And I've got the move tool set to move the entire group. This whole thing is a group, right, in a folder called desk. See that? So if I've got this set to move just one layer, it'll move just that layer. But I'm going to set it to move the entire group. So I'm going to grab this, drag it to my other image, and drop it. Oh, it's outside the window. I've got to move my desk above the midground. There we go. Not too bad. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to pause the lecture. And when we come back, we'll focus on that figure in the foreground. All right.